So we're wearing Knicks jerseys because the 2017-18 NBA season kicks off tonight. You can catch over 100 NBA games on ABC and ESPN this season, starting with tomorrow night's doubleheader, the Sixers versus the Wizards, and then the Timberwolves take on the Spurs. Check it out. Go Knicks.
Yes.
So yesterday, called out the guy in the White House for his silence over the 4 Green Berets killed in Niger. And here's what he had to say about that later on in the day. Take a look, please.
Toughest calls I have to make are the calls where this happens. Soldiers are killed. President Obama and other presidents, most of them didn't make calls. A lot of them didn't make calls. I like to call when it's appropriate, when I think I'm able to do it.
Just a little take some time off his golf game.
Well, you know, I think most presidents make those calls. I'm sorry. And quit. You know what? Listen, just say, you know, maybe you hadn't gotten to it yet, but you don't need to bring in Obama. What is wrong with you? Obama does not, you know, just stop. You can say you're dealing with it, but you don't have to reach out because it turns out to be a lie.
Well, and these things are typically done in private because they're very personal. Someone's lost their lives. So it's not something that they do and then broadcast. By the way, I spoke with 4 people. You know, like, you don't typically do that. The thing that bothers me now is these families are still listening to this conversation. How sincere does it seem when you make that phone call now and you had to consult other people to know that you just wanted to say, I don't know what to say, but I called. Like, I care.
Well, he's obsessed with Obama and Hillary Clinton. Yesterday he was talking about her again. It's like, move it along.
But it just seems to me whenever he's criticized, because he was being criticized for not having called the families of the 4 fallen soldiers in Niger.
Right.
When he's criticized, his intuitive reaction seems to be to point the finger somewhere else. And that's exactly what we tell our children not to do, right? So when our kids do something wrong, they say, well, Bobby did it too. I'm like, is Bobby's last name Hostin? No, I don't care what Bobby did. And so I think we need to call him on it and say, you know, you're the president now. You do the right thing.
Yeah, I never understand any sort of attacking on either side of the aisle that has anything to do with the military or fallen soldiers. I think all of us collectively as Americans, you would be hard-pressed to find someone that would want to politicize that. So I'm always sort of confused by the political capital that he expends when he says things like this. That being said, you know, he ran as a much more isolationist candidate than traditional Republicans do, saying, you know, we're not going to go into any more wars. We're going to bring less soldiers are going to come home in coffins under my presidency. And he's actually turned out to be a lot more hawkish than I had anticipated. And so it'll be interesting to see if he continues to sort of go, by the way, ideologically in the vein that I'm in, what ends up happening with his supporters, because a lot of his base of supporters are really sick of being overseas, of being in the Middle East. So I'm more interested policy-wise what he does going forward.
I think most of our soldiers, you know, they soldier up and they do it, but you know, they're doing 5 and 6 and 7 tours, you know,
8, 9, 10.
It's crazy, and just not for nothing, but Defense Secretary Leon Panetta did mention that Obama made calls to families. Just saying. So now. Yes, we just dealt with that. So former aides, right. He also answered questions yesterday about why his administration seems to be having so much trouble getting stuff done and through. Take a look.
I have great relationships with actually many senators, but in particular with most Republican senators. But we're not getting the job done. And I'm not going to blame myself, I'll be honest. They are not getting the job done. We've had health care approved, and then you had a surprise vote by John McCain. We've had other things happen, and they're not getting the job done.
Again, I didn't do it. That's them.
So his base agrees with him, though. They think he's doing a fine job. They think the politicians are the problem here, don't they?
You know, he's like the opposite of Harry Truman, because Harry Truman, the famous quote from Harry Truman was, the buck stops here at his desk. This is like the opposite of that. The buck doesn't stop here, stops over there.
Well, he also ran on a total deal maker platform that I'm going to make these great deals. I'm going to cross the aisle. I know how to make the best deals. Well, you can't then just put it off on the party party, the Congress, because yes, they do have to own this as well. But you're supposed to be wheeling and dealing. That's what your role is. And he promised us a deal maker, a businessman that would push stuff through. So when it doesn't go through, you say it wasn't my fault. When it does go through, I'm doing great things.
Yeah,
you can't have it both ways. So.
Well, I think. I know we're going to be talking about it tomorrow, but I saw the movie LBJ recently.
Oh, a great deal maker.
The great deal maker. And what was so fascinating to me about it was that, Kennedy was sort of this show horse, right? He was this good-looking guy. But behind the scenes, LBJ was the deal maker. He was the workhorse. And I realized that you really have to be a consensus builder when you are the president. And I'm surprised that he is unable to do that, not only with the Republican Party, his own party, but with the Democratic Party as well. Why do you think he is incapable of building these?
Well, because he doesn't. I think part of the problem is he has no idea of
what he's doing,
how he's doing stuff. Because I think that it appears oftentimes he doesn't know anything about the details of his plans. He waffles in his positions. He asks to vote for things that his constituents are clearly saying, look, this is not going to fly with us.
Well, he's not a conventional Republican. He's a populist icon, which we have to remember that when we're discussing deal making. I said this all throughout the election, that deal making in business is not the same thing as deal making in politics. Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, these are the heads that are really going to roll coming up in midterm elections. Steve Bannon, it is his life mission to drain the swamp. It's everybody's fault in Washington.
He hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah, well, the opinion of the base of Trump supporters is that it's everybody's fault except Trump's, especially Mitch McConnell. If I were Mitch McConnell, I would probably be a little nervous right now. And it's fascinating to me, like you said, that he made so many large promises in the health care bill that he brought up with my father. That bill was something that Mitch McConnell took a page out of Harry Reid. He was doing this deal in private, trying to ram it through the Senate, wasn't having any amendments, wasn't doing a lot of, whipping up of the votes within the Senate, and it ultimately backfired. And I think until everyone learns to govern traditionally, maybe they'll get voted out of office. It's entirely possible, but this is a Republican Party problem as well that we're not working together.
Your dad made a great speech, though, now that I'm thinking about when he sat in front of Congress and said, we're not doing our job here. We're not doing it. And I remember he called everyone out, and I was so moved by him saying,
it's supposed to be consensus building. And I think what's surprising to me also is Republicans don't seem to be upset about this blame shifting. I remember when Hillary lost the election, everybody kept on saying, you need to take responsibility for your loss. Don't point the fingers anywhere else. But now you have this president pointing the fingers at the very people that were criticizing Hillary for not taking the blame for it. I don't understand.
But his base,
it's the height of hypocrisy.
His base thinks that the swamp is trying to sabotage him. Make no doubt about it. They don't think it's his fault. They think that there's this large conspiracy that's trying to stop Trump's agenda because he's
in the swamp. Who's in the swamp?
Well, the impression is that every elected, trust me, everyone is the swamp except President Trump.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating that he's still
Mitch is in the swamp too?
Mitch is the king of the swamp.
But before, who was the king of the swamp is the last guy who had the job, who had to get out because he was trying to work with Obama.
Yeah.
His name is gone from my head.
What, Harry?
But when we come back,
Harry Reid? No, it's not Harry. No, it's a Republican.
Sounds like it's
crying,
two-syllable.
crying. Thank you.
John Boehner.
John Boehner
was in the swamp.
He was a man.
Like, peace out, not my problem anymore.
And then they said, you get out, and now he's out, and this is what happens. And you can't say anything else because we're going right to break.
E.T. in D.C., the congressional candidate who claims she had an alien encounter, and which co-host had a sighting of her own. Get your daily dose of girl power.
I dream big, and when you dream big, you have to be fearless in your dream.
That's right.
Talking about sisterhood, the importance of women supporting other women, which is something you guys get. Thank you for being.
Before we come back, So, Joy, I just wanted to tell you that I knew that your book was going to be on Audible because, you know, I just listen to books, and I went and I ordered your book on Audible.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Yes,
but, you know,
I did.
You can get it, like, you did the narration, which is great. Yeah. Whenever people read their own books, I love it.
If people actually want to listen to this voice,
yes.
So be my guest.
Because, I think everybody who writes a book should read their book because it just makes the experience different. But it's getting ready to drop. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, well, we're in pre-order. It's coming out next week.
Yes.
And it's called The Great Gas Bag. It's about Trump.
I wonder who you're talking about.
Yes.
And it's A to Z guide. So it's like A is for this, B is for that.
And you can get it on Audible. You can get it on Amazon. You can pre-order it from everywhere.
And on our website,
and on
Twitter,
the website.
Every place.
Get the book, y'all. It's going to be great. Get the book. Now, speaking of people and what they're into, you kind of feel people will vote for a candidate even if they don't agree with everything they say. So tell me if this is a deal breaker. Miami congressional candidate Bettina Rodriguez Aguilera claims that when she was a kid, big blonde aliens visited her and communicated with her telepathically several times. Now, we have to say that this story comes from many, many moons ago. This happened when she was 7, she said. Yeah. And she had this conversation, I guess, ages ago, and they've sort of dug up all this information. Would this be a deal breaker?
Can I say a couple? First, I would say that things are going so badly on this planet. Come and get me and take me. That's number one. I'm happy to go with the aliens. But the second thing is, why is this any different from Kellyanne Conway saying that her microwave was spying on her? Remember that?
Oh, she did say that.
So cuckoo is everywhere.
But I don't know. I feel like
spies. It's one thing if it talks to her.
Well, I don't know.
That's where my vote lies.
Oh, I know.
I feel like I'm such a hypocrite when it comes to this because I believe in UFOs and aliens. I don't have the hubris to believe that we are the only intelligent life forms. But I don't think
they're on this planet.
They could be.
Well, I believe
have
there's
you seen
something
Men in
out
Black?
there, but
everywhere. They could be, but then I feel like I couldn't vote for her because she sounds very nutty. That she learned that there are 30,000 skulls, different from humans, in a cave in the Mediterranean island of Malta. That the aliens told her that, and she said that the aliens told her that the world's energy center is in Africa.
I
could believe that
they were blonde,
and that and they were blonde.
Megan and I thank her for giving us.
She sounds nutty.
Well, first, I couldn't vote for her because the woman she's running against, Alina Ross-Lathan, is an incredible female conservative congresswoman whom I love a lot. So, number one, that's the main reason I couldn't vote for her. But when I was growing up in Phoenix, there was a famous alien sighting story called the Phoenix Lights when I was 13. Yeah. That is like, I think it's known as being like the biggest alien sighting ever. Yeah. Scared the living daylights out of me when I was much younger.
Did you see them?
They were all over Camelback Mountain. They were all over Phoenix. And it really, to this day, I also believe that it could have been an alien life force. But the governor came out, Governor Symington at the time, and said, like, don't worry, whatever. And then he later retracted and said, actually, it may have been, and I regret coming out and saying that. He wore an alien costume head. Yeah. So alien stories in Arizona.
Because they're all in Area 51. I'm telling you.
It's that testing site.
They're all there.
You know, all I know is this could be Trump's next running mate. That's all I'm saying. 2020, Donald.
I just think if you believe in religion, you can believe in this.
Yeah.
I just feel like, you know, religion asks us to have faith. And so if she said this is what happened to her, who am I to say that it didn't? And who am I to say there's no skulls in Malta? I haven't been.
But she also said she was on board the spaceship.
Lots of people have said that. Many people have said that. You know, but you know.
She described
But Sonny, you're too.
I'm conflicted here.
Should we just be taking her seriously, not literally?
She needs medication.
No, I don't know.
You know,
I'm
not conflicted. If that's what you say happened to you, I'm going to take your word
And
for
there's
it.
But would
so
you
much
vote for
worse
her?
in politics.
Well, yeah, listen, there's a lot of worse people
there's
out
just
there
so-
that
100%.
Yeah, please.
This is a real
I'll
true
take that.
story, people.
You know,
I mean, we were talking about, a Republican congressman who
Yeah.
was texting his mistress about having an abortion. Like, these are the things that are the real deal breakers
Yeah.
for me in voting, and such extreme corruption everywhere. So if you want to believe in aliens and have a conversation about aliens,
as long as you're taking
whatever.
care of the people, you're okay with me. Yeah, you're okay with me.
As long as you're bringing back jobs on this planet,
That's it.
that's all I
Or
matter.
taking us where they are.
To the other
We'll be
planet,
right back.
fine.
We'll be right back.
For these half-off awesome stuff for every room in your house. So get to viewyourdeal.com now.
Welcome back. So Chris Hemsworth was back in his native Australia promoting his new superhero movie, Thor. And a photo of him is going viral. He's relaxing at one of Sydney's top restaurants in his bare feet. Now, people lost their minds, apparently, because they couldn't understand why he could sit there with his bare feet. Is this an issue?
Well, it is for Sonny.
Yeah. I think if your feet are hurting, you can do the little slip off. Like, you can, hang your feet, but you can't take them totally off.
Why not?
Because it's very disgusting.
Women do.
I mean, I will tell you, I was recently on a plane, and I was sitting on the outside. The guy next to me, first he took off his shoes. So I was like, okay. Then he gets past me, goes into the bathroom without his shoes on.
No.
And so now I have to spend the 6 hours getting up every time he gets off. Right? Because he gets past me because I can't let the feet touch me.
You don't want to touch
and then he kept on shifting his feet, and I'm like playing a game because I can't let him touch me.
You are way too precious.
It's just
You are way too precious.
It's disgusting.
Women do it all the time. Women take their shoes off all the time. High heels bother your feet. You put on the shoes that you know were too small when you bought them, but you're wearing them anyway, and you slip them off. So women do it all the time.
Okay, so this is a dude shoe. There's not a lot of airflow in there. So the fact that he doesn't have a sock on concerns me, even if it's a little no-show or something, just to,
But how do you know? But see, you're making assumptions.
I know what my foot does when I put a sock on.
Yes, but maybe he does. Maybe he's better smelling than you.
I mean, he definitely looks like. When I look at him, I hope he is.
Well, yeah, because he knows people are up on him going, "Hi, can I get your autograph? I'm sorry I'm bothering you. I know you're eating."
So, no, but you know what? I bet he also gets pedicures, which is acceptable.
Yeah.
If you have a little gnome foot, I don't think you should be allowed to take it out.
I should not take my feet off. I should not take my socks off because I have hoofs.
He has hoofs.
I have hoofs.
I'm gonna take a look at that little hoof.
And you hear me, I clip-clop when I walk, when I have no shoes on.
I do this all the time, and I do this at black tie, serious things.
Everybody
I did it at the White House Correspondents' Dinner because I had a few glasses of bourbon, and I was like, I don't want to wear these anymore. I was walking. I do this all the time, and it's so unladylike, and it's so gross, and I can't shame, but I'm like the queen of being barefoot everywhere.
But you
I do it
had
around
an
here.
airy heel on before. Like what
It's more a comfort thing where you're just like, I don't want to carry. I've left my shoes places. I've had my shoes stolen and had to wash. I'm disgusting. It's like.
Would you be okay with the naked feet?
I feel it's a privilege to view my tootsies. And there's a man in the audience who agrees with that.
Yes, there is a man in this audience who is lusting after Joy's feet.
Nice feet.
I wish he were Idris Elba, but it's close.
He elbowed your feet.
Well, he's a brother. That's a star.
I know.
Okay. So, did you know that a breakup can take a toll, a gigantic toll on people? But apparently it can hit your wallet pretty hard, too. Financial website Money-ish pointed out that many will go on a big shopping spree or an expensive vacation to deal with a broken heart.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's expensive. You can't relate to this.
No. Listen, I go on a spree because I want something. You leaving me isn't going to prompt that to happen.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I will have more money now that you're gone.
Yeah. That's
You know what I mean?
Her wallet took a hit while they stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the most I spend is I eat my feelings, so I do have a little grocery bill, including lots of pints of ice cream.
So you eat?
I eat, but it's not too expensive. But then usually the crap isn't. But two, I also used to buy those apps that say they'll block the phone number. You know, like I delete the contact and I put it back on. Then I'd call like the sisters and say, if I reach out and ask for your brother's number, please don't answer. You know, like if you're friends with the family, because I need people to like intervene.
Yeah, you need a cutoff.
I turn into like...
It doesn't. I'm a cheap breakup. I mean, I'm like 99 cents or $1.99 if I'm splurging in the app store. So
I am the worst. I was broken up with via email. I was in a long-term relationship, and he broke up with me via email before my book came out, by the way, which made everything even worse. And I went psycho. I was like woman on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I bought every book. I went to Vegas and spent an absurd amount of money at the blackjack table. I mean, I was buying clothes. I was doing anything to distract myself from how painful it was. And I understand why women go crazy. And I was in an airport reading Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, which, by the way, Steve Harvey, those books are fantastic. Like, I love those books. And they're very helpful for breakups, by the way. And I was reading it, and I was like, if I go into this bookstore at JFK, I'll just buy every relationship book. Maybe it'll solve my problem. So, yeah, I definitely, and my accountant, I remember having a conversation where he was like, we going through a rough time? Why are we spending so much money
you know,
on
it's
everything?
always funny because you go through a rough time and then you do stuff that isn't good for you.
100%.
Self-destructive.
It becomes very self-destructive, and I think that's really...
Like what? Go out with a lot of
gyms,
other
though.
guys.
I
Well,
joined
you go-
gyms when I went.
Not
Well,
me.
but when we're talking about people going out and overspending and doing things that is going to come back and force you to have to work differently and earn differently. It's kind of interesting.
I'm lucky I was still employed after that happened. I'm lucky anyone still employs me after that breakup. I went psycho. I was like a crazy person. Anyone's still friends with me after that.
Wow.
But I turned out fine. I'm on The View.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. Maybe this doesn't bother anybody else, but we'll throw it out there. With all the drones flying around right now, this was probably bound to happen. A passenger plane in Canada was hit by one when it was approaching the Quebec City airport. Now, what do you think is going to take before people realize that there might have to be some regulations of drones?
Well, I'm not too familiar. So, in other words, you can get one of these things. And
You can buy a drone on Amazon.
What?
You can buy a drone anywhere and just fly them around.
I bought one for Manny for a Christmas gift.
How high does it go? The highest
It
high
goes very high. Goes very high. But we live near an airport, and we got a nice little visit from people, and we were like, okay, no more flying.
Well, there's some FAA guidelines. One of them, if you fly your drone within 5 miles of an airport, call the air control tower.
You're not allowed
do we know what that number is?
You're not allowed to do it.
How do you call an air traffic?
Maybe my neighbors called it on me. We kept on trying to figure out how they found out about us.
Well, you're also not supposed to fly it higher than 400 feet, and you should not fly your drone near buildings, stadiums, bridges, pedestrians.
Oh, so there
cars.
are laws.
No. These are guidelines.
These are guidelines. They're not
merely
laws.
suggestions.
Yeah.
And you can't, but in California, you can't shoot them down, but you can knock them or capture them. But if they're over 400 feet, because I was like, just shoot them out of the sky if you're like, you know, in Arizona, whatever. But
it's very easy to do.
For celebrities, though, think about someone could just buy a drone, fly it outside your window, fly it outside your house, take photos of you, photos for children. Not celebrities, just random people.
Just random
trying
people.
to look at you.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
We were talking about beforehand, Sarah, that the legislation hasn't caught up with the technology, which I think is a problem in society in general.
It is.
And
it takes the law very
this one will kill you because we can't control a bird strike, but we can certainly control the drones.
Yes.
That's something that we should be controlling. That's something that because we've seen what happens with birds. Birds took down Sully's plane. So we don't want to really fool with this. And if people aren't, people don't pay attention to what they're doing. So you're doing the thing and somebody's talking to you and next thing you know, you're way up. It's rough.
And that's not easy to control, by the way.
No.
Just another thing to worry about when you're flying.
Yeah. It's always something. Always something there to remind me. So last night we were honored. The View was inducted into the Broadcasting and Cable Hall of Fame. We were all up there. It was very nice, and we were thrilled, right?
Yeah,
it was a good time.
Yeah, I mean, Law and Order people were there, and a lot of other people, not just us.
Because you have to have been, I think you have to have been around for a while. And as you know, the show is 21 years old, so that's why.
You know what's interesting? It's 21 years, and we had 21 co-hosts.
Yes.
I'm the 21st.
Yeah,
You're the
I
21st.
think
Well,
you're
you're
21st.
actually the 101st. But we'll call it the 21st. We will be right back.
From the real deal about life with her superstar hubby Dwayne Wade to triumphing over her own sex abuse nightmare, actress Gabrielle Union's getting personal at the Hot Topics table. Next. This week, The View's Hot Topics are on fire.
It's hot.
And just look who's hitting the table. Julianne Moore, Nancy Pelosi, and Sheila E. brings down the house.
That's sexy.
Plus, when Woody and Rob face the ladies,
Anything could happen.
Unbelievable.
on The View, this week on ABC.
Are you totally ready to catch an eye? For sparks to fly? For Mr. Right? Colgate Total fights bacteria on teeth, tongue, cheeks, and gums for a healthier mouth. So you're totally ready.
Sorry, folks. Looks like we'll be stuck here for a while.
Colgate Total. Be totally ready for life.
I can do more to lower my A1C.
And I can do it with what's already.
Megan, a voice heard loud and clear on sex abuse scandal happening right now, and she brings that same unflinching honesty to her poignant, personal, and let me tell you, very much laugh out loud funny new memoir, We're Going to Need More Wine. Please welcome the very fabulous Gabrielle.
My mom called ahead and said, please, baby wrote a book, so please stand up. Oh my God, that was so sweet.
Well, you know, folks love you. Just get used to that. Now, you are married to basketball superstar Dwayne Wade, and you are mom to his kids, stepmom to his kids, I guess, his 2 sons and a nephew. And in the book, you write about something we talk a bit about on this show, what it's like raising young black men these days. And so, speak to that if you would.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It is absolutely terrifying. We live in Florida. It's an open carry state.
That's stand your ground
It's a
state.
stand your ground state. I'm going to use another example that's actually not in the book. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it was a drive-by dunk challenge.
Yeah.
Where kids would, drive by through the neighborhood, and anyone who had a basketball hoop, they would get out and dunk, right? So I'm looking at Snapchat, and I see our boys are doing the dunk challenge. And I literally, my arm goes numb. I'm panicked. And so the second they got home, I was like, they can kill you and get away with it. Because now you're trespassing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you don't understand. Like, you don't understand. Like, and they're privileged.
Yeah.
They want to reap all the benefits of me and my husband's, hard work.
Right.
And they want to be able to act the way their friends act.
Yeah.
Talking back to authority. A cop pulls you over. What did I do? I'm like, you'll die.
Not for you.
You'll die. It's different.
Yeah.
It is different.
And we call them, the black bombs, the black truth bombs that you have to drop on your kids so they understand.
Yeah.
In Chicago, where we lived last year, if they couldn't easily be identified as our children, they were just dangerous black boys.
Yeah.
And their very presence to a lot of our neighbors felt threatening.
Yeah.
And that's all you have to say to get away with killing black people.
It's hard when they're very young.
And it's a very difficult discussion to have with a younger child because I don't think that it's a hard issue to discuss with the younger kid because they feel targeted and they feel less than.
Well, what do you say? Your very blackness by birth has been demonized and weaponized and is considered inherently threatening.
It's awful.
and less than.
This is
Don't
terrible.
exist. What do you say? How do you raise your kids? And it is a constant, scary challenge that me and my husband deal with daily.
And your husband has to deal with it. I mean, it's just...
Well, he's D-Wade.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people, like, you know,
once
he
they
could go to a
realize
Klan
that
rally
it's him,
and they'd
but
be
I'm
like,
sure they
well,
come running out. Yeah.
it is D-Wade.
We'll make an exception.
You know.
We make the exception.
Yeah.
So,
You're always that exceptional Negro. There's always one.
So let's talk about your book. One of the things you say in your book is very personal stuff. I mean, people don't know this, I guess, that you were sexually assaulted in a shoe store when you were 19 years old. Am I right?
Yeah, at gunpoint. At gunpoint.
And you know, I know that you've been tweeting about Mia Bialik, what her comments and how some people are saying that she's blaming the victim by talking about how you dress as a provocative factor.
Yeah.
Where do you come out on all that?
Well, it's interesting because she's talking about, she represents a very widely held belief that somehow what you wear, how you dress, how you carry yourself in the world somehow can invite sexual violence.
Yes.
And what I have to keep reminding people is that that mentality is incredibly dangerous. It lulls people into thinking that you cannot be raped at, anyone can't be raped at anywhere, anytime, any place.
Yeah.
Or that what you wear, if you dress modestly, that's somehow insulation from experiencing sexual violence, and that's absolutely not true.
Don't you think that it's kind of a delusional thing, though, to say, well, if I dress right, it won't happen to me?
Well, that's what
the
I
other
thought.
side of it.
That's something that I carry
False sense of security
that I talk about in my book.
Yeah.
That if you're the right kind of girl, if I'm just a good girl, bad things won't happen.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, I was a straight A student, top athlete, and I was still raped at gunpoint while I was at work in a tunic and leggings. So it doesn't matter. And I just have to reiterate that. We have to stop the victim shaming and the blaming. It has to stop.
Well, this is something that you are also honest about in the book, and it's something that we share in common, this struggle with infertility and IVF. You've had 9 miscarriages.
Yeah, I actually lost track somewhere around 8, but yeah.
And because I've gone through it myself, it's so difficult, and it can be very difficult on a marriage.
Yeah.
How were you able to survive that type of difficulty?
We started IVF after so many of our friends. And literally half the couples that we personally knew didn't make it. Their marriages did not survive. IVF that was successful, that resulted in a live birth or resulted in miscarriage. It just didn't make it. So we learned. We learned from the couples that didn't make it, and we learned from the couples that where their marriages stayed together. And the key was sticking together, that this is an us process, not a me process, and reminding each other that our life is beautiful. We have an A life.
Yes.
An added human being would be an A+, but at the end of the day, we're still straight A. We have an amazing life. And we have to remind each other that motherhood comes in all shapes and forms, and your path to motherhood doesn't all have to match.
Exactly.
Can we talk about your show Being Mary Jane
Yeah.
a little? It's ending, but I understand you're going to end up doing a movie.
A 2-hour movie. And we were lucky in that sense that, usually you get invested in a show and it goes off.
I'm
and you're like,
very invested.
What happened? But they were kind enough to give us a 2-hour movie to allow us to wrap up the storylines. But it's incredibly bittersweet. I've come to love Mary Jane, and she's a piece of me. And so it feels like a piece of me got rejected, which is something I sort of talk about in the book.
It's all over life, isn't it?
Yeah. Right?
Life that's sometimes
it's a series of rejections.
Sometimes, but it's also a series of acceptance, because you're raising 3 boys, you raising kids, you doing amazing stuff. We love you. We love you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're also working with New York & Company.
Yes.
On a new clothing line. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I'm actually wearing a New York & Company, my own line, head to toe.
That's good.
We were able to...